65-year-olds who have worked their entire lives basically don't have enough money to retire.
The economy's fine. Why am I seeing more and more old people working at Walmart? Let's talk retirement.
Let's keep it real. Retirement in America is not a plan anymore. That's actually a fairy tale.
My dad's almost 60, and I realized that he doesn't even have a retirement account or a will set up.
PBS MoneyWatch reports that the typical U.S. worker doesn't even have $1,000 saved for retirement.
For decades, people were taught, work hard, save consistently, invest in 401k, and you can enjoy your retirement. But today, millions of Americans are reaching their 60s and 70s with little to no savings, rising healthcare costs, and no clear exit plan from the workforce. There is a lot to unpack today, so let's get into it.
PBS MoneyWatch reports that the typical U.S. worker doesn't even have $1,000 saved for retirement. For those who do have retirement savings, the median balance is $40,000, even though most people estimate they need about $1.5 million to retire comfortably. I mean, even before we talk about the ridiculous fees and stuff, more than half the country lives paycheck to paycheck. The median income in this country is $80,000 a year, and it costs over $20,000 annually to raise a child, and that's being nice. This is an ode to the failed retirement system in the U.S. It's been hollowed out by the complete elimination of company pensions and the tearing down of union benefits. It's really dumb because the Bernie Sanders plan was to remove the income tax on Social Security, so to keep going as people make more money instead of capping it. That would make it solvent for a couple more decades. And of course, it should be expanded too. We should be taxing the wealthy a fuck ton so that that pension system can be expanded, so that it can actually give you a respectable retirement income. But it's not right now because investment brokers, 401k brokers, and mutual fund managers have decided that this is the best thing we can do. Profit as much as possible. Front-end sales load, back-end sales load, high expense ratios on all of the investments. A 1.5% managing fee on whatever you put in because they need to make a profit. So by the time the retirement savings get down to you, you've already lost a couple percentage points, and that amounts to thousands of dollars over time.
I have read the article he mentioned, and one thing to add is that 7% of retirees have returned to work in the last 6 months. With the cost of living still high and many people worried that they don't have enough saved for retirement, the trend of older adults working longer will likely continue, and the share of seniors living in poverty climbed to 15%. It doesn't make sense to save for retirement anymore. That's a crazy statement. Save for retirement already. Lower the cost of living first. By the time millennials get there, inflation is going to be so bad that 1.5 million won't be enough. I'm 45 and already know I will be working till I die, and I will probably die at work. I'll die homeless and poor before I give my final breath to that place. 42 and same. I fully anticipate croaking on the clock. I have less than 10,000 in my 401k and I'm 40. I will never be able to retire.
If we could get the average American to start working a year earlier, right out of high school, or work a year later, not retire, it would generate about $3 trillion. $3 trillion to the U.S. economy.
This is why we say that it isn't left versus right, it's up versus down. Just listen to who they are expecting even more sacrifices from. Not the wealthy elite with more money than they could ever spend in a lifetime. Of course not. They're too busy giving those even more handouts. It's the rest of us, including the nearly 75% of Americans who already expect that we will have to keep working well past 65, that they expect even more sacrifices from. And according to the AARP, more than half of women currently between the ages of 65 to 74, along with more than a third of men that age, are already still actively in the workforce right now. But all of that sacrifice that working class Americans are making every single day of our lives still isn't enough for the leeches at the top. They're watching us work ourselves to and then just still demanding that we do even more. It is sick. And they claim that it'll be worth it because all that additional sacrifice would add roughly $3 trillion to our economy over the course of our lifetime, including roughly $435 billion of which would be tax revenue for our country to use.
So instead of taxing the richest people more, the middle class Americans should just start working a year earlier and then retire a year later. What a nonsense. And people in the comments seems to be very angry about it. Working a year earlier. I started working at 13. Just work more isn't a solution. Unbelievable. Working where? Companies are laying off millions this year in 2026. By the way, I have a video, you can click on it here, about the mass layoffs in 2026. Let's tax the wealthy the same way they tax the middle class. Why not? I started working at 16, literally. I'm 38 and have no savings. Don't forget they're asking this while making the quality of life worse and worse every single year. 40 hours of work a week only keeps people barely afloat these days.
It is really messed up, y'all, how there are so many people out here that work hard and have worked their entire lives and they still cannot retire. And it is not because they were reckless with their money, y'all, but because all they were ever taught to do was to save, how to depend on these pensions and these 401ks. And so now they're hitting their 50s and their 60s and they're realizing that there is barely enough money in there for them to even survive.
And that's the problem. Even saving consistently, working 1 or 2 jobs, people still can't make enough to retire comfortably.
65-year-olds who have worked their entire lives basically don't have enough money to retire. Like, imagine working for most of your life and then at your retirement age, you literally don't even have enough money to retire. And then the economy is crazy and there are crashes that happen that also affect your retirement. But you're supposed to keep contributing to that system and keep working. But that means that literally we have people who are 65 and older working these jobs because they literally didn't get paid enough in order to have retirement and enjoy the rest of their lives. Like, there are 80-year-olds working. And not because they literally just love to do that. It's mainly because they don't have the funds in order to just enjoy their own retirement. So they literally were promised that if they worked for most of their life, they would be able to enjoy the later part of their life and have retirement. But that's clearly not a guarantee.
Nothing is a guarantee in today's economy. My mom is retired, she does DoorDash and has a weekend job. She doesn't have enough funds to enjoy retirement. She has been working since 16 years old. At least she got to retire though. Some elders her age are still working full-time jobs. America wants you to work until you die. I'm gonna be living paycheck to paycheck until the day I die unless things change. My coworker at Starbucks worked as a bank teller for 60 years and now has to work for minimum wage just to get by. Yep, my dad had to work till 67 and got his pension cut significantly, and he was one of the lucky ones. He barely has enough each month for himself. A lifetime of work for what? Yep, I am 55 and I know I will never be able to retire. I have been working since I was 14. And there are thousands of comments like this under the video.
I'm Gen X, and I realized a long time ago that there was going to be no retirement for me. So what I did was sold all the things that I had, cashed in my retirement, and purchased some land out here in Tennessee to live on. And now what I have to do is pay for permission to live on this land, buy permits, and I also have to pay taxes every year, whatever amount they decide, forever in this land of the free. You can never escape the system that they've built for us. There's no end to it. It goes on forever until you die. This system where we're constantly paying a tithe to the government in hopes that they will do the right thing at some point, ever.
Going straight to the comments, whatever price they decide is the icing on the cake. They actually charge more every year. You need permission to live in a land you purchased. And the creator replied, isn't that just the craziest thing? And if I did go camp on my land, I can only camp for I think 2 weeks or something, or 5 months. I don't know, depending on the structure or whatever, maybe it's only 3 days. It's just ridiculous. So is there actually a feasible way to escape that system? If you can think of one, just let me know in the comments down below.
The economy's fine. Why am I seeing more and more old people working at Walmart? Let's talk retirement. Because for most of the 20th century, retirement was completely in reach. You worked for decades, you contributed to Social Security, you often had a pension through your employer. When you got older, you could step back from full-time labor with a level of security. That's not a luxury. No person over 60 should be working hourly because they need to. Regardless, over time, this security disappeared. Pensions were replaced with individual retirement accounts, which shifted the risk and the responsibility from the institutions down to the the individual. So instead of retirement being something society helped people reach, it became something you only were personally responsible for, and you had to engineer it perfectly over 40 years. Great, let's look at modern day. Most Americans now have little to no retirement savings. A large percentage will rely almost only on Social Security, which was never designed to be someone's only income. Now we see many older adults working not because they want to, but because they have to.
So we pay our taxes to the system, and at the end of the day, the system is now no longer responsible to provide for our retirement.
Let's keep it real. Retirement in America is not a plan anymore. That's actually a fairy tale. Retirement used to be the default. You know, you would work, you'd save, you hit a certain age, and then boom, you could sit your ass down somewhere. That was the whole deal. But now retirement is actually a luxury item. It's Gucci, it's Prada. Now it's only something rich people can afford. For everybody else, the new normal is working until your last breath, punching the clock until they roll you out of that building in a box. I want y'all, listen, don't get it twisted, because none of this is by accident. The system wants you to work until you die. Why? Well, because if you never stop working, then the system never stops running. Your body breaks down, your mind gets tired, but the machine keeps winning. Think about it. Your whole life you've been sold a dream. Work hard, save your money. One day you'll be able to retire. Meanwhile, wages are stagnant, 401ks are a joke, Social Security is shaky, and the cost of living keeps eating every single dollar that you make. The dream has expired, but they still want you to clock in every morning like you're chasing it. It's generational too. It's not just you. Your kids, same deal. They're gonna work all the way into the end until they have no more life left.
I have another video about the cost of living. You can go and check it if you want, because there are some crazy examples of how everything is so expensive nowadays. I am 53, eligible for retirement next year. What they don't tell you is that the pension isn't enough to cover everything. If I do retire next year, my retirement check will have to be supplemented with another job.
It's time to be honest with ourselves. You are not going to retire in the United States. It is not going to happen. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to retire in a different country. That's what I've already decided. I'm thinking Italy, Thailand, China. Italy, because the job market there is real bad, and as a result, the cost of living is real low. And it's also a beautiful country. But I would prefer to move to Thailand or China. China is my top pick, but it's like kind of a pain in the ass to stay in China. So I feel like Thailand is like the happy medium there. But I guess what I'm saying is like the cost of living in the United States is only rising. It's not going to get any better. I'm just saying, it's not. So by the time that you hit 65, I think the retirement age is going to be 70. I think that Social Security is going to be drained because I feel like it's a scam to begin with. Like, we're not getting that. We're not seeing that money ever again. And so not only that, our healthcare system is horrible. Even when you pay money into it, like even when you have insurance, it's still really, really shitty. So it's like, why would you stay here when you're old? You're going to have to go to the doctor all the time. You're going to have to pay out the ass for health insurance. It's just, and then also elder care is going to be insanely expensive, where it's like, why can't you just take that money to a different country where it's going to actually do something for you?
I'm seriously considering Southeast Asia as an option, so let me know in the comments if you're thinking of retiring abroad.
I was just in Starbucks, and it's just crazy to me now that I go, be out or whatever, and I'm just starting to see a lot of senior citizens, retirees, right, in these jobs. Like the barista that was making my drink, she had to be in her 70s. Well, anyway, she had messed up. Because, I be ordering the drink and you got to do this, you got to do that, whatever. Not too crazy. But she messed up or whatever, and the younger guy, there was just two of them. So it was like a younger guy that was at the register, and then it was the barista, older woman. So when I was like, oh, they forgot to add, I like to get a little bit of extra syrup, and then they forgot to add it, which everybody does that. When I order my lavender drink, I always add 2 extra pumps, and for some reason they take out the simple syrup and they just add the 2 vanilla pumps, and it's like, no, I want the simple syrup and 2 extra vanilla pumps. Anyway, so she forgot that, which is normal. I go to different Starbucks, they always forget it. So the guy, he was like correcting her, and I was like, oh yeah, I must have missed the extra syrup in it because it wasn't sweet. So he was like showing her like where he marked it and all that. She was like, oh, I'm sorry. So I felt so horrible, and I'm like, oh no, it's okay. You can just put the syrup in the drink you made. You don't have to make it over. So he was like, no, we're making it over because it's not gonna blend right or whatever. She was like, no, I'll make it. But she had to been in her 70s, and you know, the YTs, they be looking a little older than what their real age. But I don't know. I'm thinking she like in her 70s. She was a retiree. I don't care. She was a retiree. But my point is that that's sad because those jobs are supposed to be for the. I know this thing cuts off. So, where I was at, those jobs are really supposed to be for, like, you know, the youth, younger folks, you know, just getting into the workforce or whatever. But my point I'm making is that goes to show you that all these older senior citizens have to go back out and get a job. Like, I can't imagine my mom would be 77. I cannot imagine her being a barista at Starbucks, because she has to find or has to have extra money to live.
That's so sad, and at the same time we can't expect the retiree to work on the same level and with the same speed as people who are in their 20s. So this old lady is definitely not the one to be blamed for this mistake. Yep, I see them working at grocery stores and it makes me sad. I'm 44 and my retirement plan is dying at my desk. No way I will ever be able to retire. The next video is about something that I have been thinking a lot lately.
My dad's almost 60, and I realized that he doesn't even have a retirement account or a will set up. No one ever taught him this stuff. He came here as an immigrant, and he worked his ass off, and he figured that working forever was the plan. And now that I'm getting older, I'm thinking, what's gonna happen to my pops? Like, how is he going to retire? He doesn't have a pension. He doesn't have a 401k. He doesn't have a Roth IRA. He doesn't have a trust. He doesn't have plans for the house, nothing. I know I'm not the only first generation kid that's in this spot. So I've been trying to learn everything that I can to help parents like mine retire even when it feels too late.
And when we check the comments, a lot of people seem to be in the same boat. No one understands first gens are making money for themselves and their parents. I'm more focused and concerned about retiring my parents than I'm on my own retirement. And the creator replied, I feel that so much. A lot of us are putting our parents first because we know they never had the chance to plan for themselves. I figured they will live with me when they are old. They're almost 60 with zero money. Yeah, a lot of us are preparing for that reality too, just trying to make sure they're comfortable when the time comes. Let me know in the comments if you are feeling the same. Are you helping your parents financially at the moment? I warn you, the next video will shock you. A 92 years old lady who is still working.
I noticed this lady working in the dressing room. This woman's got to be in her 80s and she is still working.
The sight of 92-year-old Muriel on her feet working caught April by surprise as she shopped at the Pompano Burlington a few weeks ago.
My heart sank. I thought, why is a 92-year-old woman working? It just seemed unbelievable to me.
Well, I have to.
Sadly, it's the reality of Muriel's golden years. Her Social Security just doesn't pay the bills.
It's the rent, and it's the car payment, and the car insurance, and the telephone, electricity, and cable.
In no world this should exist. This will literally be us millennials soon. Yeah, this is literally every Gen Z or younger person's future. My worst fear, mine too.
This graph illustrates how your retirement age directly correlates to how long you're going to live on this planet. The earlier you retire, the longer on average that you live. The more stress you accumulate from work, the earlier you will dig your own grave. Keep this in mind when you see politicians trying to pass bills to say that since the life expectancy has gone up, you need to work longer. On average, the longer you work, the earlier you die. Stress is a direct correlation to death. The more stress that you add onto your plate, the more health complications that you end up having. living a stressful life, as you see people that retire around 49, 50, they live longer.
And honestly, it's a no-brainer. Everything in the US, from housing to healthcare, is getting brutally expensive. It used to be that only the super wealthy could live a global lifestyle, but now it's regular middle-class folks, retired teachers, military vets, people living on a pension or a 401k. Places in South America and parts of Europe are becoming hotspots because they're rolling out the red carpet with special retirement visas designed specifically for people living on investment income. It's a massive arbitrage on your cost of living.
Going straight to the comments, just retired and moved alone to Portugal. I already left on my retirement, living in South America, much cheaper. Retired at age 50 with my teacher's pension, moved to Alicante, Spain, where I can afford everything I need. I retired in Thailand, love it here. So it seems that the most preferred destinations are like Southeast Asia, the cheaper parts of Europe and South America. And the last video for today is another example where a family is working their full lives and still are not able to retire.
Could you explain this to me? Why, at 54 years old, and my husband's almost 60, our whole entire life, well, not entire life, but you know what I mean, our adult life, we have worked hard. We have raised two beautiful kids. We've paid our bills. We've paid our taxes. We are nowhere in life. We still live paycheck to paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. Our retirement, little, very, 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 very little. Where did we go wrong? We're good. Blessings for that. Good family life. You know, we didn't do extravagant things in our life. We're still struggling paycheck to paycheck. There again, we don't have much and we want to retire. I want to retire before I'm in a wheelchair or I can't walk. I want to be 90 and not retire.
So that's all I've got for today for you guys. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you found this episode useful, please leave it a like and subscribe for more. The algorithm thinks you like this video as well. See you in the next one.